bless the one who blesses. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessings. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Blessed is the blessed one. Blessed is the giver of blessing. Blessed in this moment now and every now to come. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Come all of you. Come all of us and bless the one who blesses. Do-do-do,
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed, le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum. 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 Shalom Aleichem, Salam Aleikum.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is so nice to all be together on this Shabbat Pesach, this Shabbat of Passover 2024. Whether you are joining us here in our sanctuary or joining us via live stream, we like to say that whether it's your first time or your 100th time with us, you have always belonged right here in this place with all of us. I'm Rabbi Zach Pleasant, so pleased to be joined by my cantorial partner, Cantor Becky Mann. Julian and Lindsay are with us to help us elevate our prayer musically. Joe and Sean in the back, and Lester is with us as well. Passover is about telling our story, both past, present, and future. Many of us sat down on Monday to retell our story, which may seem more present than we might think. Shabbat, too, is a time to look back and also to look forward, taking a break, taking a breath in between as we move from weeks past to weeks forward. And so we'll begin, as we do every Shabbat, with bringing in our light. As the light decreases outside, we bring in more and more light with our Shabbat candles. We'll invite Terry Langer and Michelle Kornman to come help us kindle the Sabbath lights. We are on page 120.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat.
We are on page 570, where you will find words for Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. In Judaism, we count each day from the day after Passover, the second day of Passover, all the way to Shavuot. We count 49 days of a journey from leaving slavery in Egypt until the moment we receive Torah at Mount Sinai. We continue to count one by one by one. We will sing the blessing, and then we will recite this week's Omer counting together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav מצוותיו הציוונו, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר.
Join me in the English. Our praise to you, Adonai, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to count the Omer. Hayom arba'a yamim la Omer. Today is the 4th day of the Omer.
הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר, הספירת העומר.
While we count each day from Passover to Shavuot, some of us count each day leading up to Shabbat. Sometimes there are weeks when you just need it to be Shabbat and you are counting down the days until you get that moment of Shabbat, that moment of respite from whatever it is you need in your life. I know there are certainly days when I have sat down at my desk on a Friday morning and said, how many hours do I have to count until I get Shabbat, until I get to breathe in that breath of Shabbat? The mystics of Tzfat used to run out and count the minutes that preceded Shabbat by running out into the fields, eagerly awaiting Shabbat, eagerly awaiting the receiving, the Kabbalat of Shabbat. And so we channel them as best we can in our Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat. We'll turn to page 134 as we eagerly await the official coming of Shabbat with Zamru Adonai.
Yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, lai, 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 lai. Yai, lai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Yai, 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 lai, lai, lai. Yai, yai, lai, lai, lai. Zamru Adonai bechinor, bechinor vekol zimra. B'chatzot vekol shofar. Hariu lifnei hamelech Adonai.
Continue with words of Lacharodi, page 138, verses 1 to 5, and we'll rise and face the door, welcoming in Shabbat at verse 5.
lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, yishmi'anu el ha'meyuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litehila.
Oh, yalalai lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor haberacha. Merosh mikedem nesucha, sof maaseh b'machshava techila. Whoa, yalalai lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
Hitoreri, kiva orech kumi uri. Uri shir taberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla.
Oh, yalalai lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat,
B'nei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom hateret bala, kam besimcha v'tzohola. Toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Oh, yalalai lecha dodi,
lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikabela.
lecha dodi,
Yalalai lecha dodi, yalalai likrat kala, yalalai b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, b'nei Shabbat nikabela, b'nei Shabbat nikabela. Now that we've greeted Shabbat, let's take just a moment to greet one another. In body or spirit, we remain elevated and we turn to page 146. Yalalai,
lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai.
Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Zei olam va'ed, Zei olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai, yalla lai lai lai.
We invite you to be seated. Page 150.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta
Everlasting love you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments.
Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta.
We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people, Israel.
Ve'achavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema
Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On this Shabbat of Passover, when we celebrate the leaving of Egypt, the redemption from slavery, we turn to our weekly prayer celebrating redemption with wondrous jubilation, page 158 for the words of Michamocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi ka'amocha nehedar b'chodesh, norat tehilot osei feleh, norat tehilot osei feleh. Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai, who is like you? Adonai, Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha nehedar b'chodesh, norat tehilot osei feleh.
On the other side of the sea, free but vulnerable, we turn to God for protection and shelter. Page 160.
Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, V'hamidenu shomreinu, L'chaim, L'chaim, We ask God for shelter and protection, and we ask God for peace. It has become a custom here on our Shabbat services to offer a prayer for Israel and also to offer a prayer for the 133 innocent souls who have now been held captive for 203 days. This is an inconceivable number, and yet we never stop praying, and we never stop holding on to that hope of redemption. So many of us sat around our Passover tables this week with an empty chair for those who could not celebrate this holiday of freedom. And our seders themselves became more than just a telling of our story, but a prayer. And like any prayer, we end with a blessing. We end our seders with the blessing next year in Jerusalem. Or as they say in Israel, next year in Jerusalem rebuilt. And so tonight I want to offer this blessing as a prayer, as a hope that we will reach that Jerusalem, that promised land of safety, of freedom, and most importantly, of peace. Jerusalem, our Jerusalem, next year in our Jerusalem rebuilt, next year in our Jerusalem. Next year in light, next year back home, next year may we know our name, city of peace. Next year we'll sing of seas we crossed, and there will be reminded our hope is not yet lost. Next year in the shade of olive trees, planted with each other, B'Tselem Elohim, Dayenu, a miracle will be. In Jerusalem, our Jerusalem, next year in our Jerusalem rebuilt. Next year in our Jerusalem. Next year, from the rubble we will rise, and when the smoke is cleared, we'll meet each other's eyes. Next year, in a place that we call hope, we'll defy the odds and build a world we've never known. A miracle will be in Jerusalem, our Jerusalem. Next year in our Jerusalem rebuilt. Next year in our Jerusalem. Liotam chofshi be'artzeinu. Next year in Jerusalem.
We rise in body or spirit for the blessings of the Amida, beginning on page 164. And I will note that tonight is the first night that we switch back to Morid Hatal in Gevurot. So beware of that change, page 164.
Adonai sefatai tivtachu fi agite gilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, Mezocher Chasdei Avot ve'imachot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chaim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melech, Melech memit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai,
Ha'el HaKadosh.
We invite you to be seated. We turn to words of Mishaberach, words of healing. We know that there are those in our lives, in our communities, maybe even ourselves, who are in need of a little more strength, a little more support, a little more love, in need of healing of mind, body, or spirit. So if you have a name you would like to share out loud with this community, please do so now. To those names we add Sam Bader, Zipporah Berger, Wendy Bierman, Frida Easton, Steve Elliott, Lanny Gans, Jeff Helfand, Richard Lieberfarb, Robbie Regano, Dale Winokur-Troy, Roger Volk, Tim Walker, Karen Wiener, Moshe Yaakov Ben Yocheved. If you're joining us via the live stream and you want to type a name into the chat or just say that name out loud wherever you are, for those names we've recited and those names we hold in our hearts, this prayer on page 371 is for them all.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha L'Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirits, and let us say,
We'll continue with a few moments of quiet reflection, Tfilat Halev, the prayers of our hearts. You can simply close the book and say whatever you need to say, or using the words of the book, if that is what you are more comfortable with. We will take a few moments of quiet and come back together on page 180.
Yehiul hiratzon himrei fi. Yehiul hiratzon himrei fi. Ve'kion lipi lifanecha. Adonai tzuri ve'goali. Oh, may the words of my heart, the meditations of my heart be acceptable acceptable before you. O God, my rock and my redeemer. O say shalom bimroma. Huya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imeru, ve'imeru, amen.
When I was in rabbinical school, I had the opportunity to learn with Princeton professor Michael Walzer. And every Passover since then, I keep coming back to his book, this book. It's called Exodus and Revolution. And ever since I read a little bit of it and learned with him, every Passover, this is what I think of. Except that this year, it feels different. It feels even more powerful. Walzer writes extensively on politics and ethics and the lessons that we can learn from the texts and traditions of Judaism. He discusses the moment of Exodus as the defining moment for all Jews and the political lessons we can take from the Exodus narrative. The book concludes with a remarkable paragraph, which I believe in a lot of ways is a call to action for how each one of us can and should live our lives today. Walzer begins, first, wherever you live, it is probably Egypt. When we look at the period of Israelites in Egypt as a metaphor, it's quite easy to see how this can frame our thinking today. Walzer's point here is both a particular one and a universal one, that wherever we are and whatever we are doing, there is still very real oppression around us. Many people, including ourselves, are still stuck in various forms of emotional and personal slavery. And perhaps in no year have we felt more enslaved than this one. We have each suffered moments of anguish and pain that make the metaphor of "this is Egypt" plainly clear on a deeply personal level. For us as Jews, we are painfully aware that when we sat down at our Seder tables Monday night, there were and still are 133 hostages in Gaza who were not able to be at their tables, who are not free. Both personally and collectively, we feel like we are in an Egypt of sorts and simply need to acknowledge the truth of that pain. But Walzer continues and says, there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. This might be my favorite part of the quote because it provides an important jolt of optimism. Yes, we are in a moment of Egyptness, of Mitzrayim, of narrow places. But we have the profound Jewish power of memory, a power that Jonathan Safran Foer calls our special sixth sense. And we know that there is a path from Egypt to the Promised Land. How we get there, though, is a task that we have to be willing to take on. This quote moves from the passive optimism to the more active hope when we ourselves get involved. Rabbi Jeffrey Serkman, who is my childhood rabbi and mentor, in an interview with The Forward, talked about the moment in our Seders when we open the door for Elijah. Elijah's not there. So now what? The lesson Rabbi Serkman teaches is that You have to live as if you are Elijah's emissary. We are going to say, okay, we know you didn't come, but we are going to act and live as if you did. Simply knowing that there is a better place, a promised land, is not going to get us there. However, living the lesson of Elijah, taking up his mantle and acting in the world as his emissary, maybe that can bring us even closer to that world more attractive that we all so desperately yearn for. Walzer closes with perhaps the most poetic part of the quote, and maybe the most optimistic as well. The way to that land, he says, is through the wilderness. And there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching. He reminds us first that this is not an easy path. Just as the Israelites endured 40 years of wandering after their exodus, the metaphor here continues for us. Our path is going to involve challenge and struggle and our own wildernesses. In fact, there's a line in the Haggadah that emphasizes this point precisely. We don't just acknowledge our redemption from Egyptian slavery, but we say, not only has one risen up to destroy us, but in every generation they rise up to destroy us. The Haggadah, during the time when we are supposed to be retelling the story of our past, reminds us explicitly that this is also the story of our present and our future. We are seeing this take place literally as we speak on college campuses all across the country. Whether you have a loved one in college or heading there, or seeing a protest or encampment on your alma mater's campus, or just concerned about the future of the Jewish people, this is a genuinely scary moment. Our young people deserve to live, study, and grow in a place that quite simply ensures their safety and security, full stop. We will always face Egypt-like challenges on our journeys, and we know at the same time we need to live and work through these moments of wilderness to find that promised land on the other side. A well-known Israeli musician, Yonatan Razel, takes this point even further. In his musical setting of this line from the Haggadah, he alters the Hebrew to further emphasize his point. The line of Hebrew thanks God for having saved us from that Egyptian threat. But Razel alters the Hebrew from matzilenu to yatzilenu, to say not only saved, but will save. The future tense conjugation affirming that this is an ongoing struggle that requires all of us to work together toward a more promised land. And Walzer's phrase continues by mentioning the joining of hands, which serves as another crucial reminder for all of us that our liberation is explicitly tied up in the liberation of those around us. We are not free until all around us are free. This year feels unlike any other in recent memory. It certainly feels more like Egypt than any Passover I can remember. And while we live in that reality, we must at the same time recommit ourselves to doing what we can to lift other communities as well out of their enslavements. We can and must do both. I've always loved this quote from Walzer. I find it poignant and inspiring. But this year, this framework for Passover is perhaps more necessary than ever before. For me, this quote becomes an anchor of stability and a source of direction in deeply difficult times. This is an old story, and this is a current story. And we tell it again and again and again to remind us that we will come through it. Yes, wherever you live, wherever we live, it is probably Egypt. And yes, there is a better place, a world more attractive, a promised land. And there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together.
Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught, that before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. That there's a better place, a promised land. The winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together, singing ya ya la la, ya la la la, ya ya la la la, singing ya ya la la, ya la la, ya ya la la. It's God's all, it's God's all, Shemer Haba.
As many of us sat down to our Passover Seders on Monday, we acknowledged the seats that were empty physically, but were filled with the presence of loved ones who are no longer there physically, but whose Passover memories of them in our lives still fill those spaces and fill our hearts. We turn to our moment of memory, Kaddish Yatom. And as we've done each week since October 7th, I'd like to share the story of one Israeli who has been killed since the war began. Sergeant First Class Cedric Garin was 23 years old, born to Filipino parents and raised by a single mother in a foreign country. He had a rather rough upbringing, ultimately dropping out of high school during his senior year and getting into a little bit of trouble with the law. However, he was able to turn his life around, ultimately pleading with officials to draft him, to let him serve in the IDF. Ultimately becoming a combat soldier in the Givati Brigade, and was killed while serving in southern Gaza on January 22nd. We say Zichrono Livracha, may his name always be for a blessing. If you are observing Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days after a loss, and you would like to share the name of your loved one aloud, we invite you to do so at this time. As a Temple Israel community, we are observing Shiva the first 7 days and Shloshim the first 30 days following the passing of Dorothy Ruth Cohn Abrams, mother of David and Cantor Audrey Abrams, grandmother of Rachel and Claire and Sal, and Barbara Agar, wife of the late Robert, mother of William, Bonnie, and Bradley, grandmother of Russell, Evan, Alyssa, Joshua, Rachel, Masha, and Philip, and Bernard Zimmerman, husband of Joyce, father of Wayne, Ellen, and Rick, and grandfather of Phoebe and Vicky. If you're observing a yahrzeit this evening, the anniversary of a loss, and would like to share a name aloud, we invite you to do so at this time. We're observing the yahrzeit We're observing the yahrzeit, the anniversary of death of the following members of our Temple Israel family: Mitchell Backen, Jane Dallas, Judy Lynn Danter, Ben Delson, Andy Fain, Estelle Fallick, Erwin Fireman, Jerome Feingold, Alan Fingerman, Milton Fisher, Milton Gardner, Jolie Gladstone, Susan Goldberg, Carol Gross, Dorothy Herzog, Aaron Kay, Alan Clavins, Michael Koskoff, Lieutenant James Levy, Herbert Myers, Natalie Florence Pozell, Richard Propp, Harry Robins, Hal Roffey, Lee Rosenblum, Philip Ross, Marcia Siegelob, George Teplis, Sidney Vogel, Sidel Wasserberger, Mildred Wiener, John Weiss, David Wetzler, Max Winograd, and Sandra Ziering. If you're joining us via the live stream and have a name to share, we invite you to do so by typing their name into the comments, or again, simply by saying that name aloud wherever you are. We invite those in the period of Shiva or Shloshim to rise in body or spirit and remain standing, and those observing a yahrzeit to rise in body or spirit and remain standing. And together we'll turn to page 598, and as one community, we rise together in body or spirit for Kaddish Yatom, Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehesh Shemei Rabbah min Omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dekudusha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We say zichronam livracha. May each one of their memories be for a blessing.
Say shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
I look forward to this every year. Shabbat Passover, no challah under the challah cover. But first, Kiddush, page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim Kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat L'chaim.
Oh, I forgot to say, there are kosher for Passover goodies for oneg right outside, so those should be better than this lovely matzah. We'll say motzi together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz B'te'avon
We'll conclude with words of peace. Oseh shalom. Oseh shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Amen. Yalalai. Yalalai.
Say shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.